Now, this was a big visual effects shot. All those people in the background were placed there digitally. They were shot in pods individually, moved around, because there were a limited number of extras, so they changed the order and changed their position.
Now, that part here was done in Shreveport. Yeah, the party part.
The party part.
Yeah.
Right. The first part was at Belmont, outside Belmont. This is Shreveport.
Featuring a matchup as electric as that of any World Series, Super Bowl, or heavyweight title bout.
It was a very sort of festive and circus-like atmosphere, and it was important to develop that to contrast with what's about to happen, which is the tragic event, that led her to a death.
And I think that's one of the interesting things. One of the things that probably drew us all to this film was the idea that it's bigger than just a horse race. You put it in a social context, in a historical context, and it takes on another kind of meaning, another level of meaning.
I love that shot because in one move, you see everybody living that moment their own way. Nervousness, preparation, and then we're going to wipe to the black to go to the other.
I like the transition you made here from the stall to the exterior.
Yeah, and that's the real Belmont Park here. Beautiful area where they prepare the horses before the race.
Right, and this is the same sequence we saw prior to her maiden race at the beginning of the movie.
Correct.
So that routine didn't change for him, for Frank.
You can tell there's tension in the air. Not exactly the same feel than the first time that they're preparing the horse. And when we were shooting that scene, we were at Belmont, and we had on a computer a documentary that had been made on the match race. And in order to be very precise and reproduce exactly what they did, we were looking at that documentary once in a while while we were shooting. And at some point we looked at it, and not only Sam, but other people, including myself, thought that we were looking at material that we had shot the day before. And he said, "When did we shoot that scene?" I said, I think it's the actual documentary we're watching now. It was uncanny. It looked exactly the way we were doing it. That gesture here, to put the guy on the horse, everything that happened in that area was really, really representative of what the real people did at the time.
This was actually also a very complex green screen shot, process shot.
For the great match race. The horses.
And here's Dave again. He became very emotional in reading and calling that race because it's like he was back there.
Yeah. And this silhouette of the horses coming through the tunnel, to me, there's something like gladiatorial about it.
Well, you could say classic ESPN.
Yeah, or I guess you could.
Here, another visual effects shot, really well done. All these people were added, the banners. I'm talking about the thousands and thousands of people, and we were shooting with, 80 people at the most?
Yeah.
So,
and what was it, 52,000 attended this race?
Oh, yeah, it was
something like that.
Lots of people. So it's a good cheat.
Me too.
Of the match race.
And there's a shot coming up. You'll see a crane shot that reveals the whole packed stadium. Again, as a contrast to the maiden race that was so sparsely populated. That Ruffian did serve to bring people out to the races.
Yeah. So that part of the set is Shreveport, and then we
from the White Wall on
pan to the right, and then you discover Belmont Park, full of people. The way it was that day. Overflowing with people.
Would you look at this turnout?
It's great.
They're all here for your girls?
Yeah, this gentleman. Yeah, he came and blew his horn.
But we did have to replace it, if you remember.
He was out of breath a bit, yes.
Right. I did that myself, proving that all those trumpet lessons as a kid finally paid off.
Now Beza walks in He rides in with his horse, and people are clapping. But then all of a sudden, he hears that huge cheer, wave of people screaming, and that's Ruffian coming behind him. He's kind of not totally happy about that. She was a real star. People were rooting for her.
But look at during that, you got to look at Sam and his reactions.
Mm-hmm. He's a little worried, you can tell. So they accompany the horses up to the gate, and they kept bantering, the two riders, one with each other. It was interesting.
Nice to see this place so packed.
Yeah, it's amazing. So did Whiteley say anything? I mean, how's the horse?
Nothing left to say. Time for him to race.
On the day, there was a heavy sky, with thunder, and it added to the drama in a way. People felt that there was something pretty unique that was about to happen.
For the great match race. The colt and the filly are ready. The flag is up.
What's up?
Look at the way that they hold the hair of the horse with the lead. So because of the jump that the horse takes when the door opens, it's so powerful that they have to hold on, with every muscle that they can use there. It's very, very powerful start. And she hits the door, which some people say made her lose a bit of a balance.
I think that might have contributed to her accident. But this sequence has, I think, Yves has created some of the most magnificent horse racing footage ever shot in this, using that Russian arm that he was describing earlier.
We knew that it was, the most important race, of course. And we had to look at the original race and try to really replicate and reproduce that.
The first quarter in 22 1/5 seconds.
This shot, what power, what majesty in this.
And since the race itself, before she broke down, didn't last that long, we needed to augment the drama, and going with the slow motion. This shot here, focusing on the leg hitting the ground, is one of the most interesting shots out there.
And also, this has to be her ultimate moment.
Yeah.
The flared nostrils and the detail. And you can see how precisely they had to ride, where Ruffian is just inches ahead of Foolish Pleasure, the way it actually happened. It's very, very difficult to achieve.
She's beating him.
Yeah, for a moment, she was really beating him.
Those two stride for stride as they race down the backstretch.
Look at the position of the jockeys. Yeah. Very steady, floating. This is a very, very interesting shot. I love the shots that present the hooves, hitting the ground.
He's on the outside. She's at the rail. She's in front by half a length.
And now he's describing the race the way he did on that day, with the same emotion, the same excitement. Everybody thought she was winning, so that's it. And these pigeons are another possible cause, they say, for her distraction. Then she breaks it. Visual effect shot of the leg breaking. Yeah, did by Mark Kolpak, our visual effects director. Very, very convincing, I think.
Very.
The way he's standing on the horse, he's literally standing to stop it. Because the horse wanted to go, keep going. It was running on the broken leg. Not, of course, not our horse, but the original horse, the Ruffian. And everybody went completely silent. He knows by then, the trainer, he knows that if that kind of injury is deadly for a horse.
And again, this matched the films of the actual race.
Yeah.
Using his shoulder to
Jacinto hopped off and used his shoulder under the horse to help support it.
First time we throw some speed at her, she comes up buckling.
Mr. Wiley, there's still a horse running.
That near miss was also an interesting thing to do. All done in pieces and glued together so that it looks like he's really almost hit by the horse. But they were never together, of course.
Ruffian has apparently broken her leg.
And he's very emotional here, Dave.
Pleasure the colt sails through the stretch. The match race is over.
It came naturally. We didn't need to ask him anything. He was very emotional that day when we shot this. The horse panicked a bit, but they were really well treated. I must say that horses were our partners in this movie as much as the actors in a way. False leg, of course. And he can't look at it. He just has to walk away. I mean, these people know that kind of injury is usually, normally, if it had been any other horse, they would have put her down there. But they tried to really do something with her because she was such an exceptional animal. Everybody completely silent and frozen. And coming up, you'll see Sam look at him playing that part of Frank Whiteley, discovering the horse badly injured like that. And he was himself emotional about it, and everybody around her. It's really, really interesting to see the way that people responded. Actors really got into it to a point where they were, seeing their horse hurt and dangerously, hurt. And even if it's fiction and it's all made up, nothing is real in there, they got into it and they played it like reliving these moments. The shot coming up, I did the 2 or 3 takes of him walking away from the ambulance, Sam Shepard, and you'll see. Look at his face.
And that gesture with the glasses.
The sesamoids, Frank, they shattered. They exploded right out.
She got any chance at all?
Less than 10%.
And when the doctor got interviewed 10 years later after her death, he said, I should have said 1%.
Do the best I can do.
He said I was too optimistic. He wanted her to live like everyone else. But the reality was that she had almost no chance to survive that accident.
I think today the treatments for those kinds of injuries for horses have improved enormously, but it's very rare that a horse survives that.
Easy, guys. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's fine.
It's not fake, I can tell you. He was emotional.
There's a finality to this shot, too, as she drives away in the ambulance.
Mm. These ambulances are on hydraulics, They move them up and down. That's why they look so low. This is a very interesting section of the movie also, where we combined a false horse with a real horse that had been trained to kick around and trash the room while being on its side. So imagine the complexity of achieving that.
No, it's too much. She's reacting.
Wide open.
So everything was shot, keeping in mind the safety of the animal and its well-being. In a real little hospital, horse hospital down there in Shreveport. And the people, the veterinary...
The attendants?
Yeah, the people who are working in that hospital.
Nurses and aides.
We're all there, watching what we were doing and making sure that we were totally authentic in the way that they attended to that horse. One of them is a real doctor. They're taking pieces of the bone, the shattered bone.
Hundreds of fans have gathered outside this small...
And that is a fake leg.
Belmont Park.
Definitely.
For news of their beloved filly. There's nearly 6 hours since the tragic accident, and these fans continue to keep their...
People waited out there. It was almost like 100 degrees. It was a heat wave in New York at that time, and people just gathered out there and they waited all night.
The question on everyone's mind at this point is, will Ruffian survive?
He knows.
I held a shank.
And there they will try to figure out what happened. And everybody's exposing their own theory about what made her trip.
And told everything would be all right. Just kept on talking. What else could it do?
Now pull yourself together now.
Kept it simple,
right?
Still.
But that gesture too from Sam shows his vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling everybody else to buck up, but he feels it just as strongly in his way.
They operated on that horse for hours, and it's really, really hard for a horse to stay under anesthesia for that amount of time. He's talking about the pigeons here. Some people thought the pigeons made a difference.
Yeah.
Others, thought it was when she bumped the gate.
Up the gate. That's what did it.
Maybe it was the change in the track surface.
But if you notice too, the coloration of this scene, some of the color's been drained away. It's a little flatter, a little harsher looking, so that it complements the mood of what's taking place. Earlier in the film, the colors were very saturated and rich. Now it's more stark.
Yeah, they really tried to give her a chance. They did everything they could, and even more.
That's in the country. It's up to them now.
I love that shot. He looks so good in it. And for a few beats, they thought that they had saved her. This is a real doctor here, a real veterinarian. That brace, a very primitive brace, had been made for another horse who had a similar injury at the time, and the doctor happened to have it. I'm talking about the real doctor who operated on her. He had it for this other horse, and he drove to the hospital with it in his trunk, saying, it might be helpful. And they ended up using it. But it was very primitive and heavy. The whole bandage and the brace that they put on her leg was as heavy as a cement block.
11.
At the end of it.
She was ahead when she broke down.
He's just talked about the fact that she's never been beaten, and she was ahead when she broke down. So she was the ultimate winner. You can see that the size of that brace and the stuff that goes around it. Now he's coming with some semi-good news.
Hello. So the surgery was a success. Ruffian's right foreleg has been set in a special cast and she's resting comfortably. We won't have a full prognosis until she comes out of the anesthesia. Until then, we'll just have to wait.
The most critical time for that kind of operation is when they come out of anesthesia. This is when they really, really can hurt themselves because they don't understand what's happening. They're on their sides, and they want to stand up and go away. So they knew that the critical moment was about to happen when she was going to wake up. I love that exchange here. There's a bit of guilt involved here. This is a real horse, and trained to stay on its side so that it looks a bit sedated. And then little by little, it's going to start to wake up, basically. Rex Peterson trained that horse. That's his horse. And the name of that horse is Monkey See, Monkey Do, because it likes to learn and mimic, and so he taught her to start running on when she was on its side. Imagine the complexity of train a horse to make sure that he's going to do it. Look at that. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. This was a very tough scene to cut because of all the different elements. Getting the human reactions, getting the horse reactions, integrating the real horse with the mechanical horse.
That's what she did. She really thought she was still in the race. And then we double cut with the false horse for the more violent stuff.
Keep pressure on her. Keep her down.
And at that time, Frank Whiteley saw that it was useless. She actually, when she woke up like this, she broke the mold, you know, the cast. The cast. She broke it, and she broke more bones on the other leg. And it was a disaster. He knows it now.
Keep pressure on her. Keep stay down. Easy girl. No. Still. Hold her still. She's broken her other leg.
And he's gonna have to sort of go to the next step and call the owner and say, you know, something has to be done. We can't let that animal suffer. She was just lost. She didn't know what was happening. Built for speed, built for, you know, racing at full speed, and now all of a sudden pinned down with this kind of heavy thing on her leg. She just didn't understand.
Yes, Frank. She's broken her other leg.
In that telephone conversation, this is where the owners have to decide to put her down, and it's very emotional.
I don't want her suffering anymore. You go ahead.
And I really love what he's doing when he hangs up here, Sam. It's one of his best moments in the film. Just watch him. First time in the movie, he takes his glasses off. And it took a while to convince him to do it, believe me. He just didn't want. But it paid off big time. I thought it all about the glasses all of a sudden, you know. The pain and the sadness. Thought it was interesting to, you know, not show that they were injecting her, and just show the life going away from her through the eye, closing down little by little.
So the action with the hypodermic was shot with a very wide-angle lens, a real horse's eye.
And then you go from there, and you basically see her in her grave. She's the only horse that's been buried at Belmont Park. And you can still see her grave over there.
So in the original production shot, the fake horse was wrapped in a kind of a form-fitting shroud that showed the horse shape, and it was kind of decided in post-production it was a little too disturbing, so we created a shroud to cover the whole body.
I must admit it's better, you know. Even if the original way we did it was the way that they did it, it was a little strange sight to see it.
Yes.
That was actually the last shot, the last scene of that production. This is what we ended up the film with. We shot that scene.
The very last day.
And I mean, a little bit of an anecdote here. To decide where we were going to dig a hole, we had the gentleman from Belmont to come with us, and I said this would be the perfect angle to see the stand in the back and, you know, bury her here. And he said, well, let me check, because there are a bunch of pipes around here, you know, to irrigate the grass. And he had us move the hole a bit, 6 feet, and he actually digged on the pipe. we were good the first time. They covered her with these blankets, the beautiful blankets, local locust farm.
Yeah, Locust Hill Farm.
Yeah,
that's what the LHF stands for, and that's the way it was really done. What do they call coolers? Those were her coolers.
Would she have beaten the Colt? We'll never know.
And the light was absolutely perfect for that shot that you're looking at.
And it answered no.
Sun was coming down. Everything fell in place.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're lucky.
Now we better be getting along.
Frank.
The gentleman with the
pink jacket.
That's the original Bill Nack. There, and he was emotional too. He relived that moment, and I thought it was a fun thing to do, to have the real guy next to the guy who plays him in the same frame.
After Ruffian, I chose to walk away. I could never cover the sport full-time again.